Samantha Lewis was the kind of girl you might not notice in a crowded hallway. Her dark brown hair always fell in front of her face, her voice rarely rose above a whisper, and she kept her eyes fixed on the floor whenever she walked past someone. She had mastered the art of being invisible. But sometimes, invisibility doesn't protect you, it makes you a target. On a cold Tuesday morning, the halls of Westbrook High were buzzing. Students were hurrying to lockers, chatting, laughing. Somewhere near the center of it all stood Marcus Jensen, the school's notorious troublemaker. Everyone knew Marcus. Broad-shouldered, loud, with a smirk that said he thought he was untouchable. He had a cruel talent for finding someone weaker, someone who wouldn't fight back, and making them the day's entertainment. That morning, his eyes landed on Samantha. She was clutching her books tight against her chest, her shoulders hunched, making herself small. Marcus grinned. "Hey, Mouse," he called out. A couple of his friends chuckled at the nickname he'd given her weeks ago. Samantha didn't answer. She just kept walking. Marcus stepped into her path, blocking her way. "Where you going, Mouse? Don't you hear me talking to you?" His voice carried over the chatter in the hallway. The laughter from his friends grew louder. Samantha tried to sidestep him, but Marcus moved again, grabbing her by the shoulder, not roughly, but firmly enough to stop her. "Don't ignore me, Mouse. It's rude." The moment his hand touched her, something changed. The girl who had been small, silent, and almost invisible, suddenly lifted her head. Her eyes met his, and there was no fear in them, only a calm, steady focus that Marcus didn't understand. In less than 10 seconds, Marcus was on the floor. It happened so fast that most of the hallway didn't even see the details, only the blur of movement. One moment he had his hand on her, the next his arm was twisted, his balance taken, and his back hit the ground with a thud that silenced the crowd. Samantha stepped back, breathing evenly. "Don't touch me." Her voice was still quiet, but now it cut through the air like steel. Marcus scrambled to his feet, red-faced, not from pain, but from the humiliation of being taken down by the very girl he thought was an easy target. His friends stood frozen, unsure whether to help him or pretend they didn't know him. The challenge behind the silence. What Marcus and the rest of the school didn't know was that Samantha wasn't just some shy, awkward girl. Her father had been a military instructor before he passed away 2 years ago. He taught her self-defense from the time she could walk. But after losing him, Samantha pulled away from the world, hiding herself from everyone. She didn't want attention, didn't want to be the girl whose dad died. She kept her head down and endured the whispers, the pity, and the occasional bullying. Her biggest challenge wasn't the bullies, it was finding her own voice again. The day Marcus touched her was the first time in a long time that she decided she wasn't going to let someone else define who she was. The aftermath. The hallway erupted in whispers after Marcus walked away muttering curses. For the first time, people looked at Samantha differently, not as prey, but as someone to be respected, or at least avoided. Still, confrontation wasn't easy. That afternoon, she sat in the library, her hands trembling slightly as the adrenaline wore off. She didn't want to be that girl who flipped Marcus. She just wanted to live quietly. Then, something unexpected happened. A girl named Ava, a junior with bright red hair and a reputation for being confident and outspoken, sat down across from her. "That was incredible," Ava said. "Do you have any idea how many people wanted to see someone take Marcus down?" Samantha shook her head. "I don't want to be anyone's hero." "Maybe not," Ava said with a grin, "but you might have just inspired a lot of people to stop letting him push them around." Marcus's next move. Bullies rarely give up easily. Marcus couldn't stand the fact that a quiet little nobody had embarrassed him. For the next few days, he tried to mess with her again, spreading rumors, making snide comments. But Samantha didn't rise to the bait. She remembered her father's words, "The best win isn't in the fight, it's making them realize they can't control you." Slowly, Marcus's taunts lost their power. The laughter from his friends faded when they saw Samantha wasn't afraid. And for the first time, Marcus was the one feeling invisible. The turning point. Weeks later, Samantha was walking home when she spotted Marcus in the park, sitting alone on a bench. She could have ignored him, but something made her stop. "You okay?" she asked, her voice steady. Marcus looked surprised. "Why do you care?" "I don't," she said honestly. "But I know what it's like to feel like you have to act tough all the time." For a long moment, he didn't answer. Then, almost grudgingly, he muttered, "Things aren't great at home." Samantha didn't offer sympathy or advice. She just nodded. Sometimes, being heard was enough. From that day forward, Marcus didn't bother her or anyone else the way he used to. He wasn't suddenly a good person, but the sharp edges seemed a little duller. The message. By the end of the school year, Samantha was no longer the invisible girl. She wasn't loud or popular, but people knew her for something more important. She stood her ground. Her story spread quietly, reminding everyone that strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes, it's calm. Sometimes, it's silent. And sometimes, it's a girl who refuses to be broken. Call to action 4: Be kind always. If you enjoyed this story and believe that standing up for yourself and for others is worth sharing, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Comment below, what would you have done in Samantha's place? And remember, on this channel, be kind always, we believe kindness is the greatest strength of all. Subscribe for more inspiring, emotional, and empowering stories. Let's keep spreading courage, compassion, and the reminder that everyone has a voice worth hearing. If you want, I can now create a full SEO package with keywords, tags, and viral hashtags for this story so it reaches the maximum audience on YouTube. That would help your Be Kind Always channel grow fast. Do you want me to make that?